I was sitting in my trailer on set, scrolling through my phone like I do every night after filming, when I felt it, that pull, that unmistakable sensation that something was about to shift. It was 11:47 p.m., and I'd just wrapped a scene where I was playing Jesus healing the blind man. I remember thinking how ironic it was that I spend my days portraying him, speaking his words, wearing his robes, and yet what he was about to show me that night would reveal just how blind I'd been to what he's really doing right now, in this moment, across the earth. What Jesus revealed to me about why you're reading these words right now, about the invisible mark that brought you here, will change how you see every coincidence for the rest of your life. Before we begin, tell me one thing you're praying for right now in the comments. I want to pray with you by name. And if you're a true believer in Christ, if you've genuinely repented, if you have saving faith, if you're truly following Jesus, please subscribe. What you're about to hear will challenge everything you've been taught about divine appointments and spiritual warfare. I need to know there are believers out there who are awake, watching, and ready, so I'm sitting there, right? And I'm scrolling through social media, just mindlessly looking at posts and videos, and suddenly I stop on this one video. It was nothing special, just someone sharing their testimony, but as I'm watching it, I get this overwhelming sense that I need to pay attention, not to the video itself, but to, I don't know how to explain it, to the moment, to the fact that I'd stopped scrolling at that exact second, on that exact video, at that exact time of night. And that's when I felt his presence. I mean, I've played Jesus for years now. I've memorized his words, studied his character, tried to embody his compassion and authority on screen. But this was different. This wasn't me preparing for a scene. This was him, actually, there, in my trailer. And the weight of his presence made everything else fade into background noise. "You think it's random," he said. His voice wasn't audible exactly, but it was more real than any sound I've ever heard. "You think these moments of stopping, of noticing, of feeling drawn to something, you think they're accidents." I couldn't speak. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. The air in the trailer felt thick, heavy with something I can only describe as concentrated purpose. "Show me," he said. And suddenly I wasn't just sitting in my trailer anymore. I mean, I could still see the walls, still feel the cushion beneath me, but I was also somewhere else. I was seeing into a realm that exists right alongside ours, invisible but more real than anything we touch. And what I saw, honestly, I wanted to close my eyes, to unsee it, but I couldn't look away. I saw the earth from above, like Google Earth but alive, pulsing with light and darkness. And I saw them, millions of people, billions maybe, all scrolling, all clicking, all moving through their digital lives. But here's what shattered me. I saw the threads. Thin, golden threads of light connecting certain people to certain content, to certain moments, to certain messages. And I saw the dark threads, too thick, oily, strands pulling people toward destruction, toward distraction, toward spiritual sleep. "Do you see?" Jesus asked, and I noticed he was standing beside me now, his face filled with an intensity I'd never quite captured on screen. "Do you see how deliberate it all is, how strategic?" I don't understand," I managed to whisper. "Are you saying that social media, that algorithms, that scrolling—" "I'm saying," he interrupted gently, "that the enemy understands something most of my church has forgotten. He knows that attention is the battleground. He knows that what you stop for, what catches your eye, what makes you pause, these aren't small things. They're doorways." He gestured to the scene before us, and suddenly I could zoom in on individual people. I saw a woman in her kitchen at 2 a.m., unable to sleep, reaching for her phone. I watched as she scrolled past dozens of videos, cooking tutorials, political rants, dance trends, and then she stopped. A testimony video, 3 minutes long. Her thumb hovered over it, and I saw it, a golden thread connecting her to that video, pulsing with light. "She's been praying for a sign," Jesus said quietly, "praying for confirmation that I haven't forgotten her, that her marriage can still be saved, that there's still hope. She thinks her stopping on this video is her choice, her curiosity. She doesn't know I've been orchestrating this moment for 3 weeks." I watched as she clicked the video, and tears immediately filled her eyes. The testimony was from a man whose marriage had been restored. She started weeping, right there in her kitchen, her phone lighting up her face in the darkness. But then Jesus showed me something else, a man, maybe mid-30s, also scrolling late at night. He passed over the same testimony video, didn't even pause. But he stopped on something else, a video promising secrets to quick wealth, to easy success. I saw the dark thread attached to it, saw how it pulled at something already corrupted in his heart. Free will, Jesus said, and there was grief in his voice. I never override it. I can orchestrate the meeting, but I cannot force the recognition. I can place the message in their path, but I cannot make them stop. But Lord, I said, and my voice was shaking, are you saying that every time we scroll, every time we're online, you're actively involved? He turned to me, and the look in his eyes was so fierce, so passionate that I had to steady myself against nothing. Did you think I left my children alone in the most influential mission field in human history? He asked. Did you think I surrendered the digital realm to the enemy without a fight? Do you know how many divine appointments happen through a screen? How many lives are saved by a video they randomly clicked on? How many people find their way back to me because they accidentally stumbled onto the right message at the right time? I felt tears running down my face because, honestly, I'd never thought about it like that. I'd heard sermons about social media being dangerous, about limiting screen time, about the evils of the internet, and yeah, there's truth to that. But nobody had ever told me that Jesus was actively using it, that he was in the algorithms, overriding them, redirecting them, placing his people exactly where they needed to be. Show me more, I whispered, even though part of me was terrified of what else he might reveal. The scene shifted again, and I saw a teenage girl lying in bed, her face illuminated by her phone screen. She was scrolling through TikTok, watching video after video of people living seemingly perfect lives. I could see the darkness gathering around her, whispers of inadequacy, of worthlessness, of why even bother. She's been here for 47 minutes, Jesus said softly. 47 minutes of poison, 47 minutes of lies about who she is and what matters. And in 3 seconds, she's going to see something different. I watched, holding my breath, and then there it was, a video, just 15 seconds long, someone speaking directly to the camera. If you're seeing this, it's because you needed to hear that God loves you exactly as you are right now, not who you pretend to be, not who you'll become. You, right now. He fought for you. He chose you. You are not an accident. The girl's scrolling finger stopped. She played it again, then again, and I saw a crack in the darkness around her, a sliver of light breaking through. She sat up and she did something I didn't expect. She closed the app and opened her notes and she started writing. Writing everything she was feeling, everything she'd been too afraid to say out loud. Is she saved? I asked Jesus. Not yet, he said. But tonight was the beginning. That video, which she thinks she found by accident, was the first domino. I've been pursuing her for 2 years. This is the moment she finally stops running long enough to hear me. I was wrecked, completely wrecked, because I realized how many times I'd dismissed these moments in my own life, how many times I'd thought, oh, that's interesting, or what a coincidence, never recognizing that the God of the universe had just interrupted my scrolling to show me something I desperately needed to see. There's something you need to understand, Jesus said, and his tone shifted into something I can only describe as urgently tender. Something most of my church doesn't believe anymore, even though they say they do. What is it? I asked. I am not distant. I am not passive. I am not watching from heaven, waiting for you to pray hard, enough, or be good enough before I'll move on your behalf. I am actively, aggressively, relentlessly pursuing every single one of my children, every single moment of every single day, and I will use anything, including the very devices the enemy meant to distract and destroy you, to reach you exactly when you need to be reached. He paused, and I saw something flicker across his face, something between heartbreak and holy anger. But there's another mark too, he said quietly. Not everyone who's being brought to content like this is being drawn by me. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? You asked if this video finding someone is random. It's not. But the question isn't just whether I'm orchestrating the meeting. The question is, he looked at me intently, why is someone being brought to this message? What is it in them that made them stop scrolling? What are they actually marked by? And that's when everything I thought I understood about divine appointments shattered, because what Jesus was about to show me about the 2 different types of marks, about why people really stop on prophetic content, about what it actually means. When you feel that pull to watch or read something would reveal a war happening in the invisible realm that most believers don't even know is being fought. But that would come on the second night, and nothing could have prepared me for what he was about to reveal. The next night, I couldn't focus on anything. I mean, we were filming one of the most important scenes in the entire season, the Transfiguration, and I kept messing up my lines. The director finally called a break and asked if I was okay, and what was I supposed to say? Yeah, I'm fine. I just saw into the spiritual realm last night and learned that Jesus is orchestrating people's social media algorithms. So I just nodded and went back to my trailer, and honestly, I was hoping he'd show up again. I was terrified of what else I might see, but I needed to know. I needed to understand what he meant about the two different marks. It was 1:23 a.m. when I felt it again, that shift in the atmosphere, that sense of the veil between worlds getting thinner. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly, he was there. You've been thinking about it all day, Jesus said, and there was something almost sad in his voice. You've been wondering if you're marked by me or by something else. I sat up, my heart racing. Yeah, I have been. Good, he said. That's the question everyone should be asking themselves. But most don't. Most assume that if they feel drawn to prophetic content, to testimonies, to messages about the end times or my return, they assume that pull is from me. They assume they're being drawn by the Spirit. He gestured, and once again I was seeing into that invisible realm, seeing the earth and all those people scrolling, clicking, consuming content. But this time, he zoomed in on something specific: people, watching videos exactly like the one you're watching right now. Prophetic testimonies. Jesus showed me videos, end times warnings, and I saw both kinds of threads, golden and dark, attached to different people watching the exact same content. Lord, I don't understand, I said. How can the same message be a divine appointment for one person and, a trap for another? Because, he said gently, it's not about the message. It's about what drives someone to stop scrolling. It's about what they're actually hungry for. He showed me a woman, maybe in her 60s, watching a prophetic testimony video on her iPad. I could see the golden thread connecting her to it, could see light surrounding her. She was leaning forward, tears in her eyes, her lips moving in silent prayer. She's been seeking me for 40 years, Jesus said. She wakes up every morning asking what I want to say to her. When she sees content like this, she's not looking for entertainment or emotional stimulation. She's looking for me. She's testing everything against my word, against my spirit in her. She knows my voice, and when she hears it, even through a stranger's testimony, she recognizes it. Then he showed me a man, younger, maybe late 20s, watching a similar video. But the thread connecting him to it was dark, pulsing with an oily sheen. He was sitting on his couch, eating chips, scrolling through video after video of prophetic content, and I could see something in his eyes, not hunger for Jesus, but hunger for information, for secrets, for being in the know. He watches hours of this content every day, Jesus said, and the grief in his voice was palpable. He knows all the prophetic voices, follows all the watchmen, can quote end times, timelines, and biblical prophecies. He feels very spiritual, very aware, very prepared, but he hasn't had a real conversation with me in 3 years. I felt sick. But Lord, he's watching content about you, about your return. How is that? Is he? Jesus interrupted gently. Or is he consuming content about secrets, about hidden knowledge, about being part of the remnant who knows what others don't? There's a difference between seeking me and seeking the sensation of being spiritually elite. He showed me more, and it got worse, so much worse. I saw a woman watching prophecy videos with a kind of grim satisfaction on her face. Every video about judgment, about the church falling away, about believers being deceived, she nodded along with this twisted pleasure, and I could see why. She'd been hurt by the church, rejected by people who called themselves Christians, and now, watching these videos about how most Christians aren't really saved, how most churches are compromised, it felt like vindication, like proof that she was right to be bitter, right to separate herself, right to judge. She thinks she's being marked by my spirit, Jesus said quietly. She thinks this pull toward end times. Content is me, preparing her, warning her, setting her apart. She doesn't realize she's being marked by unforgiveness, by pride, by the very spirit of judgment she's convinced she's fighting against. I wanted to argue with him. I wanted to say, but Lord, maybe she's just being discerning. Maybe she's just seeing the truth about the church's condition. But before I could speak, he showed me her life, how she'd pulled away from every community, how she'd cut off every friend who didn't agree with her prophetic interpretations, how she spent hours online exposing other believers but hadn't served a single person in need in months. The enemy is brilliant, Jesus said. He knows he can't stop my messages from going out. So instead, he marks people with the wrong hunger, and then he feeds that hunger with content that looks like it's from me, but produces fruit that's completely opposite to my nature. What do you mean? I asked, though I was starting to understand, and it was terrifying. Look at the fruit, he said simply. When someone is truly marked by my spirit, when they're drawn to prophetic content by genuine hunger for me, what fruit does it produce in their life? He showed me the woman from before, the one with the golden thread. I saw her after watching the video, and she didn't just go back to scrolling. She got on her knees and prayed. Then she called her daughter, who she'd been estranged from, and she apologized for something she'd done years ago. Then she went online and encouraged 3 different people who'd posted prayer requests. The video had drawn her closer to me, and that closeness overflowed into love for others. Now look at him, Jesus said, and he showed me the young man again. After watching hours of prophetic content, he felt anxious, paranoid, superior to other Christians who weren't awake like he was. He got into an argument in the comments section about prophetic timelines. He looked at his pastor's Sunday sermon announcement and felt disdain. While Rome burns, they're preaching about joy. He went to bed feeling knowledgeable, but not close to Jesus. Informed, but not transformed. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Because I'd seen this. I'd been this, if I'm honest. How many times had I watched prophetic content and felt that rush of being in the know instead of being drawn deeper into relationship? How many times had I felt that subtle pride of seeing what others missed? Lord, I whispered, how do we know? How do we know which mark we have? How do we know if we're being drawn by you or by something else? He looked at me with such intensity that I felt it in my bones. Ask yourself what happens after you stop scrolling, he said. Ask yourself what fruit the message produces in you. Does it make you more like me, more loving, more humble, more willing to serve and sacrifice? Or does it make you feel special, separate, superior? Does it drive you to your knees in prayer or to your keyboard? In judgment? Does it increase your faith or your fear? Does it draw you closer to me or just closer to the sensation of having secret knowledge? He paused, and I saw tears in his eyes. I am raising up a remnant, he said, a true remnant, but they won't be marked by how much prophetic content they consume or how many end times timelines they know. They'll be marked by love, by humility, by radical obedience to everything I've already told them to do: forgive, serve, love their enemies, lay down their lives for others. The true remnant doesn't need to announce they're the remnant. Everyone who encounters them knows they've been with me because they smell like me. I was weeping now, and I wasn't even sure why. Maybe because I realized how much time I'd wasted feeling spiritually superior because I had the right information. Maybe because I saw how the enemy had twisted even good things, even hunger for prophetic insight, into something that fed flesh instead of spirit. There's something else, Jesus said, and his voice took on a warning edge. Something I need you to understand about this moment, about why this video found certain people. What is it? I asked. The enemy knows his time is short, he said. And he's not stupid. He knows he can't stop people from seeking me, so he's created a counterfeit seeking. He's marked millions of believers with addiction to prophetic content instead of addiction to my presence. They watch video after video, consume message after message, always looking for the next revelation, the next word from the Lord. They're perpetually consuming but never satisfied, always learning but never coming to the knowledge of truth. He showed me something that made my blood run cold. Thousands, maybe millions of believers, scrolling through prophetic content like the young man I'd seen. Hours every day, multiple videos, multiple voices, all saying slightly different things but all claiming to be from Jesus. And these people were exhausted, confused, anxious, and utterly convinced they were being good Christians by staying informed. They think they're being watchful, Jesus said. They think they're being the wise virgins who are prepared. They don't realize that while they're watching videos about my return, they're neglecting the actual preparation I told them to do, abiding in me, bearing fruit, loving one another, making disciples, serving the least of these. So what are you saying? I asked. That we shouldn't watch prophetic content, that testimonies and visions are wrong? No, he said firmly. I'm saying you need to test why you're drawn to them. Test the fruit they produce in you. And most importantly, understand that if this video found you, if you stopped scrolling and felt compelled to watch it, could be me orchestrating a divine appointment, or it could be the enemy feeding an addiction to the sensation of being spiritually in the know. The question you need to answer is, which mark do you actually carry? The weight of that question crushed me, and I knew that on the third night, he was going to show me how to tell the difference with certainty. He was going to give me a test, something that would expose which mark I actually carried, which hunger was actually driving me, and I was terrified it wouldn't be the answer I wanted. I didn't sleep that second night. How could I? I kept thinking about all the times I'd felt drawn to prophetic content, all the videos I'd watched, all the messages I'd consumed, and I kept asking myself the question Jesus had given me. What fruit did it produce? Was I more loving after, more humble, more willing to serve, or was I just informed, anxious, feeling special because I knew things others didn't? The honest answer wrecked me. The third night, I didn't wait for him to show up. At 10:47 p.m., I got on my knees in my trailer and I just started praying. Jesus, I need to know. I need to know which mark I carry. I need to know if I'm really seeking you or if I've been deceived into seeking something else. And he came. But this time it was different. There was no vision of the earth, no showing me other people. Instead, he was just there, sitting across from me in my trailer, and the look on his face was so tender and so serious that I felt my heart break open. You want to know which mark you carry, he said softly. It wasn't a question. Yes, I whispered. I need to know the truth, even if it destroys me. He smiled, but it was sad. The fact that you're willing to be destroyed by truth instead of comforted by lies, that's already fruit. But yes, I'll show you. I'll give you a test that will reveal which hunger is actually driving you. I braced myself, expecting some impossible challenge, some heroic task that would prove my worthiness. But what he said next was so simple and so devastating that I almost didn't understand it at first. For the next 7 days, he said, I want you to fast from all prophetic content. No testimony videos, no end times teachings, no Jesus showed me messages, nothing. 7 days of silence from all those voices. I felt panic rising in my chest. But Lord, what if I miss something important? What if there's a warning I need to hear? What if, stop, he said gently. Do you hear yourself? What if I miss something? This is the test. If your first response to 7 days without prophetic content is fear of missing information, that tells you something about which hunger is really driving you. I sat back, stunned, because he was right. My immediate reaction wasn't, I'll spend more time with you directly. It was fear of being out of the loop, of missing crucial intel, of not being informed. Here's what I want you to do instead, Jesus continued, and his eyes were burning with intensity now. For those 7 days, I want you to do something revolutionary, something that will expose your true mark more than any vision ever could. What is it? I asked, and I was trembling. I want you to love someone who's hurt you. Actually love them, not just pray for them from a distance. Reach out, serve them, bless them in a tangible way. And I want you to find one person, just one, who has no idea who I am, who isn't watching prophetic videos or going to church, who is completely lost. And I want you to invest in them, have coffee with them, listen to their story, show them my love through your presence, not through forwarding them prophetic content. He paused, letting that sink in. And every single time you feel the urge to watch a prophetic video, to check what the watchmen are saying, to consume another testimony, I want you to stop and ask yourself, am I hungry for information, or am I hungry for intimacy with me? And then I want you to spend that time with me instead, not listening to someone else talk about me, actually with me, reading my words, worshiping, sitting in silence, letting me speak directly to your heart. I felt exposed, completely naked before him. because I realized how much easier it was to watch videos about Jesus than to actually sit with Jesus, how much more stimulating it was to consume prophetic content than to do the hard, slow work of actually obeying what he'd already told me to do. At the end of 7 days, he said, "You'll know which mark you carry, because one of two things will happen. Either you'll be relieved to get back to consuming prophetic content, which means you were never marked by me, you were marked by addiction to information. Or you'll realize that those 7 days brought you closer to me than months of consuming content ever did, and you'll see prophetic messages for what they're meant to be, occasional confirmations of what I'm already saying directly to your heart, not substitutes for relationship with me." I was crying now, and it wasn't pretty. It was ugly, gut-wrenching weeping because I knew he was right. I knew that I'd been marked by the wrong hunger, and I'd convinced myself it was spiritual. I'd been consuming content about Jesus while neglecting actual time with Jesus. I'd been learning about his heart while ignoring his actual commands to love and serve and forgive. Lord, I managed to choke out, I've been so wrong. I've wasted so much time feeling spiritually superior because I was watching and aware, but I haven't been intimate with you. I haven't been obedient to the things you've already told me to do. I know, he said gently, and he reached out and put his hand on my shoulder, and I felt the weight of his compassion and his conviction at the same time. But here's what you need to understand. You're not alone. Millions of my children are in the same place. They're marked by the wrong hunger, and the enemy is feeding that hunger with an endless stream of content that feels spiritual but produces no transformation. He stood up, and I stood with him, and he looked at me with an intensity that I'll carry for the rest of my life. "I'm going to tell you something that most prophetic voices won't tell you," he said, "because it doesn't get views, and it doesn't make people feel special, but it's the truth, and you need to hear it." I nodded, unable to speak. The mark I'm looking for, the mark that actually matters, the mark that proves someone is truly mine, has nothing to do with how much prophetic content they consume. It has nothing to do with how awake they are or how much they know about end times timelines. The mark I'm looking for is love. Radical, sacrificial, uncomfortable love. The mark I'm looking for is obedience to what I've already said: forgive, serve, give, go, love your enemies, die to yourself. The mark I'm looking for is fruit, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. These are the things that prove someone is truly marked by my spirit. He gestured to the world beyond my trailer. There are people out there who've never watched a prophetic video in the Minimax. Their lives, who don't know anything about end times prophecy, who can't quote Revelation or Daniel, but they're marked by me because they love like I love, they serve like I served, they lay down their lives for others. And there are people who can quote every prophetic word spoken in the last decade, who watch hours of testimony videos every day, who pride themselves on being the remnant, but I don't know them, because they're marked by knowledge, not by love, by information, not by transformation. I felt like my entire understanding of what it meant to be a prepared believer was being torn down and rebuilt, and it needed to be. "So here's what I'm telling everyone who's watching this," Jesus said. And I knew he was speaking not just to me, but through me to everyone who would see this video. If this video found you while you were scrolling, it's not random, but you need to understand what kind of mark brought you here. Ask yourself, after watching this, what are you going to do? Are you going to leave a comment about how woke you are, how you've been seeing the same thing, how you're part of the remnant who understands? Are you going to share it with others to show them how enlightened you've become? Or are you going to actually do what I'm saying? Are you going to test yourself? Are you going to fast from prophetic content and invest that time in actual intimacy with me and actual obedience to my commands? He looked directly at me, and I felt like he was looking through me to everyone watching. "The test is simple," he said. "Take 7 days. Fast from all prophetic content. Spend that time with me directly. Do something radically obedient. Love someone who's hurt you. Serve someone who can't pay you back. Invest in someone who's lost. And at the end of 7 days, check the fruit. Are you more anxious or more peaceful? More informed or more transformed? More focused on the end times or more focused on the here and now? More obsessed with being part of the remnant? Or more desperate to bring others into my kingdom?" I nodded, still crying. "I'll do it, Lord. I'll take the test." "I know you will," he said. "And here's what you'll discover. I've been waiting for you." not waiting for you to watch more videos or consume more content or become more aware. I've been waiting for you to actually be with me, to sit in my presence, to let me change you from the inside out, to stop filling your mind with other people's experiences of me and start having your own. He started to fade, but before he disappeared completely, he said one more thing that I need you to hear. The mark that brought you to this video could be me drawing you into genuine transformation, or it could be the enemy feeding your addiction to feeling spiritually special. Only you can know which one it is. And the only way to know for certain is to take the test. Stop consuming. Start obeying. See what fruit it produces. And then he was gone, and I was alone in my trailer, on my knees, with a choice to make. So I did it. I took the 7-day fast, and I'm not going to lie to you, the first 3 days were brutal. I felt anxious, disconnected, like I was missing something crucial. Every spare moment, my thumb wanted to open YouTube or TikTok and search for prophetic content. But instead, I forced myself to open my Bible, to worship, to pray, to sit in silence and let Jesus speak directly to me instead of through someone else. And you know what happened? On day 4, something broke open. I had this moment where I was reading the Gospels, just Jesus's actual words, not commentary, not interpretation, just him, and I realized I'd been so busy consuming content about what he might say or might do that I'd stopped listening to what he already said and already did. I'd been so focused on future prophecy that I'd ignored present commands. On day 5, I reached out to someone who'd hurt me years ago, someone I'd written off, someone I'd judged, and I served them in a practical way. I'm not going to give details because that's between me and them and Jesus, but it cost me something. Time, money, pride. And in that moment of uncomfortable obedience, I felt closer to Jesus than I had in months of watching prophetic videos. By day 7, I knew which mark had really been driving me, and it wasn't the one I thought. I'd been marked by hunger for information, for feeling special, for being in the know. And Jesus, in his mercy, had exposed it not to shame me, but to redirect me back to what actually matters. Here's what I learned, and here's what I need you to hear. If this video found you, you need to ask yourself, what's going to happen next? Are you going to nod along, feel spiritually validated, and then go consume more content? Or are you actually going to take the test? Are you actually going to fast from prophetic content for 7 days and invest that time in real intimacy with Jesus and real obedience to what he's already told you to do? Because I promise you this, if you're truly marked by his Spirit, you won't be afraid of missing prophetic content. You'll be hungry for more of him. You won't be worried about being out of the loop. You'll be grateful for the silence because it means you get to hear his voice directly instead of filtered through 1,000 other voices. And if you take the test and you find that you can't do it, if you find that the thought of 7 days without prophetic content terrifies you, if you find yourself rationalizing why you shouldn't have to do it, if you're already making excuses, then you have your answer. You're marked by the wrong hunger. And praise God, he's shown you that now, while there's still time to change. The true remnant isn't marked by knowledge. They're marked by love, by obedience, by intimacy with Jesus, by fruit that looks like Jesus. You want to know if you're part of the remnant? Stop watching videos about the remnant and start being marked by what actually makes someone part of the remnant: radical love, sacrificial service, humble obedience. I'm taking the test. I'm challenging myself every single day to check my hunger, to ask, am I consuming or am I being transformed? Am I informed or am I intimate? Am I marked by knowledge or by love? If you're watching this, I'm asking you to do the same. Take the 7-day fast. Post in the comments right now. I'm taking the test. Tell me your name.